So, what is black fatigue? Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, the word black fatigue has basically been spreading like wildfire. I mean, it is almost a household word now, just about a household word now, for good reason, of course. But I noticed there seems to be a good bit of confusion about what black fatigue is. I've heard some people say that, well, it's not black fatigue, it's ghetto fatigue. And to that, I will agree, because a lot of people are getting fed up with ghetto hell. I think probably a good percentage of black folks, if not most black folks, are getting fed up with black ghetto, that ghetto nonsense behavior, and it's mostly women. To be honest with y'all, it's mostly black females. They're the ones who have to be told not to dance and twerk on restaurant furniture, right? They're always fighting everywhere. They're fighting in the mall, fighting in the check cashing place, fighting in the Popeyes, fighting in churches, hell, fighting in the church. Okay, they're fighting in front rallies, fighting in Walmart, shooting out the Jack in the Box, and dancing and twerking and carrying on at a graduation. Again, people are just getting fed up with that nonsense. That ratchet ghetto nonsense is really part of a lot of reasons why the black community is in the shape it is. And actually, it basically was born out of, as I say, it was born out of the destruction of the black community, that is. But that ratchet nonsense is really getting old and tired. That lets you know it is when you got a lot of pro-blacks out there will even speak out against ratchet ghetto nonsense. But then there's also the black hypocrisy. This idea that black folks can't be racist because black folks don't have any power, even though they display a lot of power to get people to move off of social media. Say what they want about whoever, but if somebody says something about a black person, it is racism. By the way, this is mostly black women as well, because you do see black males, but this is mostly black females. You have a black female that'll refer to white women as unseasoned chicken, but then if a white woman responds with, well, you over-seasoned chicken and overcooked chicken, that white woman be racist after they just said something racist about the white person. But somehow they can't be racist because, well, black folks don't have any power with that nonsense. Again, this is another element of black fatigue that people are getting fed up with. And then you have the unaccountable fatigue, right? Once again, mostly black females, but because black men, even though you see that accountability, at some point in time, men will be held accountable, and the very nature of a man is to take responsibility, but not women, and they will not take accountability for anything. They will, they're always blaming others. It's always something else. Even when they do something wrong, they'll find some type of way to blame somebody else. They try to blame, when you hear them say that, where they put guns in the community. Okay, if the white man shipped guns in the community, that doesn't mean you had to take the guns and start killing yourself. You could have took those guns and used those guns to help protect and defend your community. They say the white man shipped drugs in the black community. Well, why did you use the drugs? Nobody put a gun to your head forcing you to use drugs. Just because there's drugs in your community doesn't mean you have to use them. I mean, there are plenty of things in your community that exist in your community that you don't have to partake in it because it's there. They say the same thing about welfare. Well, it was welfare that played a part, a great society that played a part in the downfall of the black community. They try to, the fact that black women willingly took it, they try to blame that on the white man. Well, they knew they were gonna take that welfare. The white man knew that. Well, by that logic, they knew white folks was gonna buy them slaves, right? Regardless, this unaccountability behavior amongst black, like I say, mostly black females, is basically, it gets tiring after a while. But I would have to say the lion's share It has to be victimhood fatigue. All these black victims, the blacks crying about everything, racism, every damn thing and everything. Like racism from the breakfast cereals to the cell phones. They're crying racism about something. And they just constantly crying about the past, a past that the majority of blacks today, 95% of blacks today never seen or experienced, but they keep dredging up telling that it's still impacting us today. They never give us any real evidence to back that up. It's always systemic this, systemic that, never any real evidence. And you have black folks who will be millionaires and who got there with the help of white people, or be crying about, racism, this, and they'll be the biggest victims in the world. So I think, honestly, I would say that the lion's share of black fatigue is this black victimhood. Now, the thing is, each and every one of these categories, all four of them, are a part of black fatigue. The difference is that the word black fatigue just includes all of them. It's just like an all-encompassing way of it's just saying all four of them. It's just all the fatigue in general. That's what black fatigue is. And it's really truly getting old, and that's why people are starting to say no. White folks starting to say we've had it with it. We're no longer guilty of stuff that we didn't do. No more white guilt. I didn't own any slaves. I didn't oppress anyone. I didn't do anything, so don't be guilty of me. Don't put me on the guilt trip. And that's what we're starting to see. And like I say, I knew eventually black folks were going to push white people too far, because that's just inevitably. If you stretch a rubber band too far, eventually something's going to happen. And basically, the concept of black fatigue and the spreading like wildfire is a result of white people just being pushed too far with nonsense. And I'm just hoping, like I always say, black folks, don't push it that far, because y'all don't want white people going that far. There's no need for you to constantly keep pushing and crying, being victims, being unaccountable, being hypocrites, and just being ghetto and ratchet. It needs to end. If you really truly want what's best for black people, you would stop all of the nonsense and start dealing with black folks. Stop crying about white supremacy this, white supremacy that, because white supremacy is not the problem. It's really, as I said, the problem is not white supremacy, is black inferiority. We need to address the black inferiority. But anyway, like I said, that's my 2 cents on what black fatigue is. It's everything that you hear people are saying. They just all together. Black fatigue just sums it all up. Anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.